The cold air bit through Jiho's worn jacket as he knelt beside the massive drilling machine. His breath came out in white clouds that vanished into the icy atmosphere of Kelter 7. The outpost stretched around him like a metal skeleton against the frozen landscape. All sharp edges and harsh lights cutting through the eternal twilight. He had been working on this cursed drill for 6 hours now. His fingers were numb despite the heated gloves, and his back ached from crouching in the cramped engine compartment. The machine was supposed to extract rare minerals from deep beneath the ice, but it kept shutting down every few hours. Jiho suspected a faulty relay circuit, but getting to it meant dismantling half the control panel. Human, why is this equipment still broken? Jiho didn't need to look up to know who spoke. Hei-One's voice carried that particular edge of frustration that had been growing sharper over the past week. She was Vryn, one of the reptilian species that controlled most of this sector. Her scales were deep blue-green, and she stood nearly 7 feet tall, with powerful limbs built for their homeworld's heavy gravity. The relay system needs replacement, Jiho said quietly, still focused on the wiring before him. I've requested parts 3 times, but supply ships are delayed. Hei-One's footsteps crunched on the ice as she came closer. The quota deadline is in 2 days. Commander Velrex expects full production. Do you understand what failure means for me? Jiho finally looked up at her. In the 6 months he'd worked here, he'd learned to read some Vryn expressions. Hei-One was afraid. Not of him, but of losing her position. She'd told the others she would make 2nd rank by the end of this cycle. The mining quota was her test. I understand, he said, but I cannot make parts appear for nothing. I'm doing everything I can. Everything you can? Hei-One's voice dropped low, dangerous. I watched you yesterday. You stopped working for 20 minutes. You were just sitting, staring at nothing. I was waiting for the coolant system to... Excuses. Her tail lashed behind her, a sign of extreme agitation. You humans are all the same. Weak, lazy. You come to our colonies, take our credits, and give us nothing but problems. Jiho stood slowly, setting down his tools. He was careful to keep his movements non-threatening. Humans were new to the galactic community, barely 30 years since first contact. They were tolerated as cheap labor, but little else. Starting a fight with a Vryn enforcer would end badly for him. I will get it working, he said. Give me until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow? Hei-One stepped closer, looming over him. Tomorrow, I report to the commander. Tomorrow, he asks me why production is down 40%. Tomorrow, I explain that a human sabotaged our equipment. Sabotaged? Jiho felt his heart rate spike. I didn't. You've been the only one working on this drill for weeks. It was running fine before they assigned you to it. Now it breaks constantly. Her eyes, yellow with vertical pupils, narrowed. Perhaps you're working for the Resistance. Perhaps you're deliberately slowing our operations. That's insane. I'm just a mechanic. Then prove it. Get this machine running. Now. Jiho turned back to the drill, his hands shaking slightly. Not from cold this time, but from anger he had to keep buried. He reached deeper into the engine compartment, trying to bypass the faulty relay manually. If he could just reroute the power flow through the secondary system ... The drill suddenly roared to life. Jiho jerked back in surprise, but he'd been leaning too far in. His shoulder caught on a sharp edge of metal, and he stumbled. The drill bit began spinning, its enormous weight shifting. The whole machine lurched to one side. Look out! Someone shouted from across the work area. Jiho threw himself backward as the drill toppled. It crashed down where he'd been standing a second before, smashing into the ice with a sound like thunder. Pieces of broken machinery scattered everywhere. The engine sputtered and died, now completely destroyed. Silence fell over the worksite. Other workers, both human and alien, stared at the wreckage. Ji-ho lay on the ice, breathing hard, knowing what was coming. You. Hae-won's voice was barely a whisper. You just destroyed 2 months of production. It was an accident. The machine. Accident? She grabbed him by the jacket and hauled him to his feet with terrifying strength. You've ruined me. Ruined everything. Enforcer Hae-won, please. Her hand pulled back, claws extended. Ji-ho had seen Vrin claws cut through steel plating. He tried to twist away, but her grip was iron. She spun him around and struck. The claws raked across his back, tearing through his jacket and the thin shirt underneath. Ji-ho cried out as white-hot pain exploded across his shoulder blades. He fell forward onto the ice, feeling warmth spread across his back. Blood. He was bleeding. Hae-won stood over him, breathing heavily, her hand still raised. Then she made a sound he'd never heard from a Vrin before. A hiss of pain. Ji-ho rolled onto his side and looked up. Hae-won was staring at her claws. Where his blood had touched them, her scales were smoking. Actually smoking like acid eating through metal. What? She held her hand away from her body, watching in horror as the burning sensation spread from her claws up her fingers. What is this? Other workers rushed forward. Tae-min, another human, helped Ji-ho sit up. Don't move, brother. We need medical. But everyone was looking at Hae-won now. The proud enforcer was on her knees, clutching her hand against her chest. The scales where Ji-ho's blood had touched were turning black, and a strange blue glow pulsed beneath her skin. Commander Val Rex arrived with security officers. His orange scales marked him as high-ranking Vrin. He took one look at the scene, and his crest flared in alarm. What happened here? The human, one of the workers said. His blood did something to Enforcer Hae-won. Val Rex approached Hae-won carefully. Show me your hand. She extended it, shaking. The blackened scales had spread to her wrist now, and the blue glow was getting brighter. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Get her to medical. Immediately, Val Rex turned to Ji-ho. Restrain the human. No one touches him until we know what kind of biological weapon he's carrying. Weapon? Ji-ho said weakly. I'm not. Silence. Guards grabbed Ji-ho roughly, forcing him to his feet despite the pain in his back. You'll be quarantined until our doctors determine what you've infected her with. As they dragged him away, Ji-ho caught one last glimpse of Hae-won. She was staring at her hand with an expression he couldn't read. Fear? Wonder? The blue glow was spreading faster now, creeping up her arm like living light. He didn't understand what was happening. Human blood didn't do this. Couldn't do this. But as the guards pulled him toward the medical facility, Ji-ho felt something strange. The cuts on his back, though they should have been agonizing, were already starting to itch. The feeling of healing. Whatever was in his blood, it was changing everything. And somewhere deep in his chest, Ji-ho felt the certainty that nothing on Kelter 7 would ever be the same again. The medical facility smelled like chemicals and cold metal. Ji-ho sat on an examination table, his back freshly bandaged, while armed guards stood by the door. They'd stripped him down and scanned every inch of his body with machines he didn't recognize. The doctors wore full containment suits, treating him like a plague carrier. Through the thick glass window, he could see into another room. Hae-won lay on a medical bed, restrained. The blue glow had consumed her entire right arm now, spreading slowly across her chest. Doctors surrounded her, taking samples and arguing in their hissing language. It's moving faster, one of the human workers whispered. Tae-min had convinced the guards to let him stay with Ji-ho, claiming he might be contaminated too. Look at her arm. Ji-ho watched. The blackened scales were falling off Hae-won's arm, but underneath them was something new. The skin beneath looked different, smoother somehow, The blue glow pulsed stronger with each passing minute. Commander Vel Rex entered the medical bay, his footsteps heavy with authority. He dismissed the guards with a wave and stood before Ji-Ho, studying him with cold yellow eyes. "Our doctors have never seen anything like this," Vel Rex said. "They found organisms in your blood, microscopic things that don't exist in any galactic database." "I don't know what you're talking about," Ji-Ho said honestly. "I'm just a mechanic. I've never been sick, never had any genetic modifications. Yet your blood is rewriting Enforcer Hay-1's cellular structure." Vi-Rex pulled up a holographic display showing magnified images of cells. "These organisms are aggressive. They're changing her DNA, mixing it with something else. Something human." Tae-Min stepped forward. "Is she dying?" "We don't know. Her vital signs are stable, but she's transforming into something neither Vryn nor human." Val Rex turned off the display. "The Council wants you executed. They see you as a biological threat to every species in this sector." "But I didn't do anything." Ji-Ho's voice cracked. "She attacked me. All I did was bleed." "That may be true, which is why I've delayed your execution until we understand what's happening." Val Rex moved to the window, looking at Hay-1. "I've sent for a human specialist. She arrives within the hour. If she can explain this, you might live. If not—" He didn't finish the sentence. The hour passed slowly. Ji-Ho tried to sleep, but couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Hay-1's claws coming toward him, felt the pain across his back. But also, he couldn't forget the look on her face when her hand started burning. She'd been terrified. When Dr. Yuna finally arrived, Kai-Ho felt a small spark of hope. She was an older woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd spent decades studying things others couldn't understand. "I need to see the patient," she said immediately, barely acknowledging Ji-Ho. "And I need samples from both of them." Val Rex led her to Hay-1's room. Through the window, Ji-Ho watched Yuna examine the Vryn Enforcer. She ran scanners over the glowing arm, took blood samples, checked the fallen scales. Her expression grew more focused with each test. Finally, she returned to Ji-Ho's room. "I need your medical history. Everything from childhood." "I've always been healthy," Ji-Ho said. "Never got sick, not even common colds. My family's the same. We lived in the northern territories on Earth, where it gets extremely cold." Yuna's eyes lit up. "Northern territories. High altitude or low?" "High, mountain region." "Why does that matter?" Instead of answering, Yuna took more blood samples from Ji-Ho. She disappeared into the laboratory section of the medical bay, and Ji-Ho could see her working frantically with the equipment. Tae-Min brought him food, but he couldn't eat. His stomach was too tight with worry. 3 hours later, Yuna emerged. She looked exhausted, but also strangely excited. "Commander, I need to speak with you and the human, privately." They gathered in a small conference room. Yuna pulled up displays showing complex biological diagrams that made Ji-Ho's head hurt just looking at them. "I found something remarkable," Yuna began. Ji-Ho's blood contains extremophiles. These are organisms that can survive in the most hostile environments imaginable. Extreme cold, extreme heat, high radiation. On Earth, we found them in deep ocean vents, in Arctic ice, in volcanic springs. "But those are just bacteria," Vel Rex said. "Primitive life. Not these. These extremophiles have bonded with human cells on a fundamental level. They've been part of our biology for thousands, maybe millions of years. We never noticed because they're completely harmless to us. They help us adapt to harsh environments." Ji-Ho tried to understand. "So these things in my blood, they're helping me survive?" Exactly. Your ancestors lived in one of the harshest climates on Earth. These organisms helped them survive. And now, Yuna brought up an image of Hay-1's cells. They're trying to help Enforcer Hay-1 survive too. By destroying her? Valrex's voice was sharp. Not destroying, adapting. Yuna pointed to the cellular images. The Vryn evolved on a harsh world too, correct? High gravity? Extreme temperatures? Yes, our homeworld is classified as hostile by most galactic standards. These extremophiles recognize that. They're not attacking Hay-1 cells. They're forming a bond with them, sharing the same adaptations they gave to humans. But her body is fighting the change because it's foreign. Tae Min leaned forward. So what happens to her? If the transformation completes, she be something new. Part Vryn, part human on a cellular level. She'll have advantages from both species. Yuna pulled up another scan. Look at this. Her muscle density is increasing, but her cells are becoming more efficient at using oxygen. She's getting stronger and more adaptable at the same time. Ji-Ho watched through the window as Hay-1 stirred on the medical bed. The blue glow had spread across her entire torso now. Her breathing was deeper, steadier. She looked different somehow, even from a distance. Can it be reversed? Valrex asked. Possibly, but not without risk. The organisms are deeply integrated now. Removing them might kill her. Yuna turned to the commander. But I need to tell you something else. Something important. Speak. I've been researching human biology for 20 years. I always wondered why we were so adaptable, why we could survive in environments that kill other species. Now I know. Yuna took a breath. These extremophiles aren't natural. They were engineered. The room went silent. Ji-Ho felt his heart hammering. What do you mean, engineered? Valrex demanded. Someone put them in our ancestors. Someone very advanced, very long ago. They're too perfect, too specialized. And I found something in their genetic code. Information. A message. What kind of message? Yuna's hands shook slightly as she brought up the final display. It's incomplete, fragmented. But the parts I can read. They talk about unity. About breaking down barriers between species. About sharing adaptations so different forms of life can coexist. Ji-Ho stared at the alien symbols on the screen. You're saying someone designed us to do this? To change other species? Not change, unite. These organisms were meant to be shared when humanity reached the stars. A gift that would help different species understand each other, survive together. Through the window, Hay-1's eyes opened. They were still yellow, still Vryn, but something in them had changed. She turned her head slowly, looking directly at Ji-Ho through the glass. And despite everything, despite the pain and fear and anger, Ji-Ho saw something in her expression he'd never seen from a Vryn before. Understanding. The blue glow pulsed brighter. And alarm sensors began wailing throughout the medical facility. The alarm screamed through the medical facility as Hay-1's restraints snapped like paper. She sat up on the examination table, her movements fluid and controlled, despite the transformation still rippling through her body. The blue glow had spread to cover her entirely, pulsing beneath her scales like a second heartbeat. Sedate her, Valrex shouted, but the medical staff were already backing away in fear. Hey, one looked down at her hands, turning them slowly. Where the blackened scales had fallen away, new ones had grown. They were still green-blue like all Vryn, but they shimmered with an inner light. She flexed her fingers, and Ji-Ho could see the strength in them, but also something else. Control, precision. I'm not going to hurt anyone, Hay-1 said. Her voice was different, softer somehow. I can feel it. Everything. I can feel the temperature of the air, the vibrations in the floor. I can hear your heartbeats. All of you. Dr. Yuna stepped forward cautiously. How do you feel? Are you in pain? No pain. HFY stood, and guards immediately raised their weapons. She didn't seem to notice. It's like waking up from a dream. Everything was muted before. Now it's clear. So clear. She walked to the window, separating her room from Gio's. Her movements were graceful, powerful, but not threatening. She placed her hand against the glass and looked at him. I felt you, she said quietly. When the change began, I felt your memories. Fragments of them. Your childhood in the mountains. The cold. The struggle to survive. Ji-ho stood slowly, approaching the window. That's impossible. I know. But I did. HFY's eyes met his. I felt your fear when I attacked you. Your pain. And I felt something else. You weren't angry at me. Even after I hurt you, you weren't angry. You were just tired. I was, Ji-ho admitted. Tired of being treated like we're worth nothing. Valrex interrupted. This is irrelevant. Enforcer HFY, you're to remain under medical observation until we determine the full extent of your transformation. Before HFY could respond, new alarms sounded. Different ones. These were security alerts. Commander Valrex's communication device crackled to life. Commander, we have an incoming transmission from High Command. Priority Alpha. They're demanding immediate updates on the biological incident. Valrex's crest flattened against his head, a sign of stress. Tell them I'll report within the hour. Sir, they're not asking. They're ordering. And they're sending the fleet. The color drained from Valrex's scales. The fleet? Through the facility's windows, Ji-ho could see lights in the sky. Ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, dozens of them. The Vryn military fleet was arriving at KEL-7. Within minutes. The outpost was in chaos. Soldiers rushed through corridors, securing positions. All workers, human and alien alike, were ordered to their quarters. But in the medical facility, a different crisis was unfolding. An older human man arrived, flanked by security. He was dressed formally, his gray hair and lined face marking him as someone important. Elder Quan was known to most humans in the sector as a diplomat and historian, one of the few who'd been present at first contact decades ago. I came as soon as I heard, Quan said, moving directly to where Yuna stood. Is it true? Has the bonding occurred? You knew about this? Yuna demanded. You knew humans carried these organisms? Not at first. We only discovered it 5 years ago when we began deep genetic surveys. Quan looked through the window at HFY. We found evidence of deliberate genetic engineering in our species. Ancient, millions of years old. Valrex stepped forward. You knew humans were biological weapons and said nothing? We're not weapons, Quan said firmly. The organisms aren't designed to harm. They're designed to unite. We found more of the message Dr. Yuna mentioned. It's incomplete, but the meaning is clear. An ancient race seeded certain worlds with these extremophiles, waiting for the species that evolved there to reach the stars. Why? Ji-ho asked. To break down the barriers. Every species in the galaxy is isolated in their own biology. We can communicate, trade, even cooperate. But we can never truly understand each other because we're fundamentally different. These organisms change that. They allow different species to share traits, to experience each other's strengths. This is insane, Valrex said. You're describing forced evolution. Not forced, voluntary. Quan turned to HFY. Tell me, Enforcer, did the organisms force themselves into your cells, or did they ask permission first? HFY was quiet for a moment. I felt something. When the change began, it was like a question being asked. My body could have rejected it. Part of me wanted to. But another part, she looked at her glowing hands. Another part wanted to understand. Wanted to be more than I was. A new voice crackled over the communication system. This is Admiral Tae Rin of the Vrin High Command. All personnel are to evacuate the medical facility immediately. The human-designated Jiho and the compromised enforcer Hae-1 are to be terminated. This is not negotiable. Through the windows, Jiho could see the fleet forming a blockade around the outpost. Their weapons were charging. They're going to destroy this entire facility, Taemin whispered. Kill everyone to make sure this doesn't spread. Dr. Yuna grabbed Valrex's arm. You can't let them do this. This transformation isn't a plague. It's a breakthrough. Don't you understand what this means? It means chaos, Valrex said. If every species can transform into hybrids, the entire social order collapses. Empires fall. Hierarchies break down. Exactly, Quan said. That's what frightens them. Not the biology, but the change it represents. Hae-1 pressed her hand harder against the glass. I can survive temperatures that would kill any Vrin now. I tested it. The medical staff exposed me to the same cold that you humans tolerate. I didn't even feel discomfort. Don't you see what this means? Vrin could colonize worlds we've always dreamed of, but could never reach. And humans could visit our high-gravity worlds without assistance. It means the end of everything we know, Valrex said, but his voice lacked certainty. A young woman rushed into the facility. Misan was a communications officer, and her face was pale. I intercepted classified transmissions from the High Command. They know about the message. They've known for weeks that humans carried something unusual. They were planning to quarantine Earth entirely, cut humans off from the rest of the galaxy. What changed? Jiho asked. You did? This incident proved their fears. They can't contain it anymore, so they decided on extermination instead. Mi-san pulled up data on a portable screen. They're declaring all humans in the sector as biological hazards. Shoot on-site orders. The fleet outside began moving into firing positions. Jiho could see the weapon systems glowing, preparing to fire. Hae-1 suddenly raised her hand. Wait, I can feel something. In my DNA, it's like memories that aren't mine. The precursor race, the ones who made the organisms. I can see fragments of what they intended. Everyone turned to her. She closed her eyes, and the blue glow intensified. They were dying. The precursor race. They'd conquered death, conquered disease, but they couldn't conquer loneliness. Every species they encountered was too different, too alien. They could communicate, but never truly connect. So they made these organisms as a final gift. A bridge between different forms of life. How do you know this? Valrex asked. The organisms carry their memories. Genetic memory, stored in the same code that makes them function. It's all here. Hae-1 opened her eyes. They wanted the galaxy to be united. Not through conquest or force, but through choice. Through shared biology, creating shared understanding. Outside, the fleet's weapons reached full charge. A countdown began broadcasting across all channels. 30 seconds until they opened fire. Hae-1 turned to Valrex. You have to choose, Commander. Fear or hope. The past or the future. Help us or die with everyone else when they fire on this facility. Valrex looked at her, then at Jiho, then at the fleet outside. His claws scraped against the floor as he wrestled with the decision that would define the rest of his life. 20 seconds remained. Valrex. Hand slammed down on the emergency communication panel. This is Commander Valrex to all outpost personnel. Initiate full evacuation protocols. Get everyone to the underground shelters. Now, the countdown continued. 15 seconds. You're helping us? Jiho asked, unable to believe it. I'm saving my people, Velrex said. The rest we'll figure out later. He opened a direct channel to the fleet. Admiral Tae Rin, this is Outpost Commander Velrex. I cannot comply with your extermination order. Civilians are on this station, loyal Vryn citizens who have done nothing wrong. Then evacuate them and surrender the infected. The Admiral's voice was cold as the ice outside. You have 10 seconds. Hey, one stepped forward. Let me talk to them, please. You think they'll listen? Tae Min said, they're terrified of what you've become. Then I'll show them there's nothing to fear. Hey One moved to the communication console. Valrex hesitated, then stepped aside. 5 seconds. Hey One activated every communication channel simultaneously. Her image would now be broadcasting to the fleet, to High Command, to every Vryn station in the sector. I am Enforcer Hey One. Second rank, 3rd Division, service number 7742. I have served the Vryn Empire for 12 years. I have fought in battles, protected our colonies, upheld Oz. I am still that person. But I am also more. 3 seconds. She held up her glowing arm. This transformation was not forced upon me. It was offered, and I accepted. The human organisms in my blood have given me abilities beyond what any Vryn possesses. I can survive in environments that would kill our kind. I am stronger, faster, more adaptable. But I have not lost who I am. I am still Vryn. I am simply better. 1 second. If you fire on this station, you will kill loyal citizens out of fear. Fear of change. Fear of losing control. But the galaxy is changing whether you accept it or not. You can destroy this outpost, kill everyone here, but you cannot stop what has begun. Other humans will share their gift. Other species will accept it. You can choose to be part of the future, or you can die clinging to the past. The countdown reached 0. Jiho held his breath. The weapons outside glowed brighter, almost blinding. Then, slowly, the glow faded. The fleet held their fire. Admiral Tae Rin's voice returned, different now, uncertain. You claim you are still loyal to the Empire. I am, but I am also loyal to the truth. Humans are not our enemies. They are the key to our revolution. A long silence followed. Then another voice joined the communication. This one was older, carrying weight of authority that made even the Admiral sound junior. This is High Council Member Dalron. Enforcer Hey One, you will submit to full medical examination by our top scientists. The human Jiho will be placed under protective custody, not execution. We will study this phenomenon further before making any final decisions. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't extermination either. Jiho felt his legs go weak with relief. Tae Min caught him before he fell, but the crisis was far from over. Even as the immediate threat passed, new problems emerged. Vryn soldiers began landing on the outpost, establishing a perimeter. They separated humans from other species, placing everyone under guard. Protective custody looks a lot like arrest. Tae Min muttered as they were escorted to a secure section of the outpost. Jiho watched through the windows as Hey One was led away by scientists in protective suits. She looked back at him once, her yellow eyes meeting his. There was an understanding there, a connection that transcended species. They were both prisoners now, both caught in the middle of something much larger than themselves. Days passed. Jiho was subjected to endless tests. They took so much blood, he felt dizzy. They scanned his brain, his organs, his DNA. Scientists asked him thousands of questions about his life, his family, his health history. He answered as best he could, but mostly he was confused and frightened. Through it all, he saw glimpses of what was happening outside his confinement. News from other colonies. Reports of panic as the truth about humans spread across the galactic network. Some species demanded all humans be expelled from their territories. Others wanted to study them. A few, very few, saw the opportunity HFY had described. On the 5th day, a Vrin soldier named Wu Jin was assigned to guard Ji-Ho's cell. He was young for a Vrin, his scales still bright with youth. Unlike other guards who refused to speak to him, Wu Jin seemed curious. Is it true? Wu Jin asked during his shift. That you can make others like you? Not like me. Better, I think. That's what the scientists say. The organisms share strengths between species. But you remain human? Yes. And HFY remains Vrin. She's just ... enhanced. Wu Jin was quiet for a moment. I have a sister. She was born with weak lungs, cannot tolerate our homeworld's atmosphere. She lives on medical stations, never able to visit the place our family is from. If this transformation could help her, I don't know if it works that way, Ji-Ho admitted. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a mechanic who bled on someone. A mechanic who might change the galaxy. Wu Jin looked at his claws thoughtfully. The empire is built on strength. The strong rule, the weak serve. But what happens when strength can be shared? When the weak can become strong through cooperation instead of domination? Revolution, probably, Ji-Ho said quietly. Yes, probably. Wu Jin smiled, which looked strange on a Vrin face. My commanders are terrified. They see their power slipping away. But soldiers like me, we see something different. We see a chance to protect more people, to save those we thought were lost to weakness. That night, Ji-Ho was woken by alarms. Not attack alarms this time, but emergency medical alerts. He rushed to his cell door and found Wu Jin already there. It's Enforcer HFY, the guard said. Something's wrong. They ran through the corridors, guards surprisingly not stopping them. When they reached the medical facility, Ji-Ho saw why. Every scientist, every doctor, every soldier was gathered around the observation windows. Inside, HFY floated in a containment tank, the blue glow so bright, it hurt to look at directly. Dr. Yuna was shouting orders. Her cellular structure is destabilizing. The transformation is accelerating beyond safe parameters. What does that mean? Valrex demanded. It means she's dying. The organisms are trying to do too much too fast. Her body can't handle the strain. Ji-Ho pushed through the crowd. Can you stop it? We've tried everything. Sedatives, suppressants, genetic inhibitors. Nothing works. The organisms won't respond to our commands because they're not designed to take commands. They respond to intent, to will. And right now, HFY's will is telling them to complete the transformation, no matter the cost. Why would she do that? Elder Quan appeared beside Ji-Ho. Because she understands what's at stake. If she dies, the High Command can claim the transformation is too dangerous. They can justify eliminating all humans as a threat. But if she survives, if she becomes living proof that different species can truly unite, she save us all, Ji-Ho finished. He turned to the medical team. Let me talk to her. She's unconscious. No, she's not. Look at her eyes. Through the glowing blue light, through the containment fluid, HFY's eyes were open. She was watching everything, aware but unable to communicate. Yuna hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. If her condition worsens, you're out immediately. They drained the tank, and Ji-Ho entered the containment chamber. The blue glow was warm against his skin, almost familiar. He knelt beside HFY and took her hand. Her scales were smooth, transformed, beautiful in a strange new way. You're trying too hard, he said softly. You're fighting to prove something, but you don't have to fight alone. That's the whole point of the organisms, isn't it? Unity, shared strength. Hey, one's eyes focused on him. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The precursor race failed because they were alone, Geo continued. But we're not. You're not. Let me help. Let the organisms do what they were designed to do. Connect us. He pressed his other hand against her chest, over her heart. The blue glow flowed from her into him, and suddenly he felt it. Her pain, her determination, her fear, but also her hope. She wasn't just trying to survive. She was trying to become proof that two species could truly be one. Together, Geo whispered. And he meant it with everything he had. The blue glow exploded outward, filling the entire chamber with light so bright everyone had to look away. When the light faded, Jiho found himself lying on the floor of the containment chamber. His entire body tingled with energy, but it wasn't painful. It felt natural, like stretching after a long sleep. He sat up slowly and looked at his hands. They seemed normal, unchanged. But he could feel something different inside him. A connection to something larger. HAE-1 was sitting up too, breathing steadily. The blue glow had settled into a soft shimmer beneath her scales, no longer blinding. She looked at Jiho and smiled. A real, genuine smile that showed teeth but carried no threat. I felt it, she said. Your offer to help. The organisms responded. They stabilized because they had what they needed. Connection. Two species choosing to work together. Dr. Yuna rushed into the chamber with scanning equipment. Both of you, don't move. I need to check everything. She ran tests frantically, her expression shifting from worry to confusion to amazement. This is impossible. Hey, one, your cellular structure has stabilized completely. The transformation is finished. And Jiho, you have traces of Rin DNA in your blood now. Not enough to change you, but enough to create a permanent biological link. What does that mean? Jiho asked. It means you're bonded. The organisms created a bridge between your immune systems, your cellular repair mechanisms. You can share resistance to diseases, share healing factors. If one of you gets injured, the other can help them recover faster through proximity. Outside the chamber, Vel Rex was arguing with someone on his communication device. His voice was raised, angry. No, I will not execute them. You saw what just happened. They stabilized together. This proves the transformation can be controlled, can be safe. The voice on the other end was Admiral Tayrin. It proves nothing except that these organisms are unpredictable. The High Command has made their decision. The human-designated Jiho and all others of his species in this sector are to be deported back to Earth. No exceptions. And Enforcer Hayone? A pause. She is to be brought to the homeworld for permanent study. We cannot have a hybrid wandering freely among our population. Hayone stood, her movements graceful and powerful. She walked to the chamber door and opened it without waiting for permission. Guards raised their weapons, but didn't fire. Something about her presence commanded respect now. I am not going to be imprisoned, she said calmly. And the humans are not going to be deported like criminals. We have done nothing wrong. You've been infected with an alien organism. Tayrin's voice crackled through the speaker. You're a contamination risk. I'm a soldier. I've served the Empire faithfully. Now I'm serving the truth. Hayone looked around at all the Vrin present. How many of you have family who are sick? How many have loved ones who cannot visit our homeworld because the gravity would crush them? How many watched friends die in environments we weren't evolved to survive? Several soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Wu Jin stepped forward. My sister. I told the human about her. Yes, your sister could breathe freely if she accepted this gift. She could visit your family's ancestral lands. She could live a full life instead of being trapped on medical stations. HFY turned to include everyone in her gaze. The organisms don't just help individuals. They help entire civilizations reach their potential. Commander Valrex was watching her with an expression Jiho couldn't read. You're advocating for wide-scale transformation. You want to change the Empire itself. I want to save it. The Empire is stagnant. We've conquered all the worlds we can survive on. We've reached the limits of our biology. But with this gift, we could expand to ice worlds, to high radiation zones, to planets we've only dreamed of colonizing. We could grow instead of slowly dying. A new voice interrupted the conversation. Elder Quan had been standing quietly in the corner, and now he stepped forward. I need to show everyone something. Mi-san, can you access the Galactic Network? The communications officer nodded and pulled up a holographic display. Images appeared showing dozens of different colonies, different species, all in chaos. But not the chaos of panic. The chaos of change. What am I looking at? Valrex asked. News from across the galaxy. In the past week, since word of HFY's transformation spread, volunteer requests have been flooding in from 23 different species. They want to try the bonding. They want to share human adaptability. The images showed aliens of all kinds. Some reptilian like the Vrin, others insectoid, some gaseous beings in containment suits. All of them were requesting access to human blood samples, to the extremophile organisms. This is madness, Peyrin's voice said. Uncontrolled transformation will lead to disaster. Or evolution, Quan replied. The precursor race seeded these organisms millions of years ago, waiting for this moment. For species to reach the stars and find each other. The transformation isn't meant to be controlled by governments or empires. It's meant to be a choice. Individual beings choosing to bridge the gaps between species. Wu Jin turned to his commanding officer. Sir, permission to speak freely? Valrex nodded. I want to volunteer. I want to try the bonding so I can help my sister. So I can protect people in environments that would kill me now. Isn't that what being a soldier means? Becoming stronger to protect the weak? Other soldiers murmured agreement. Not all of them, but enough. Jiho could see the shift happening in real time. Fear giving way to possibility. Admiral Teyrin must have sensed it too. This is a direct violation of High Command orders. Any Vrin who accepts this transformation will be court-martialed. Then court-martial me, HFY said. But you'll have to catch me first. She moved faster than Jiho had ever seen anyone move. One moment she was standing in the medical bay. The next she was at the communications console, her claws flying across the controls. Before guards could react, she'd opened a broadcast channel to the entire galaxy. My name is HFY. I am Vrin. I am also bonded with human extremophiles. I am proof that different species can unite without losing who they are. To anyone listening, to any species that wants to try this transformation, I say this. It is your choice. No government, no empire, no military command can take that choice from you. The organisms are designed to respond to individual will, to personal decision. They cannot be weaponized because they only work when offered and accepted freely. Security forces rushed toward her, but Jiho and several soldiers, including Wu Jin, blocked their path. Not fighting, just standing in the way, protecting her right to speak. The precursor race gave us a gift, HFY continued, a way to break down the walls between different forms of life. For too long, the galaxy has been divided, species competing instead of cooperating, resources hoarded instead of shared. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can choose unity. We can choose evolution. Alarms sounded as the High Command tried to shut down the transmission, but Mi-san was faster. She rerouted the signal through civilian channels, through trade networks, through every communication relay in the sector. HFY-1's message was spreading like wildfire. Admiral Tayrian's voice was cold with fury. "You've declared war on the Empire." "No," Velrex said quietly. He'd been watching everything, and now he moved to stand beside HFY-1. "She's declared independence, and I'm joining her." The chamber fell silent. A Vryn commander defying the High Command was unprecedented. "Explain yourself," Tayrin demanded. "I've served the Empire for 30 years. I've fought in wars, enforced laws, maintained order. And I've watched us stagnate. We're dying slowly, our population declining, our expansion halted. This transformation offers hope. Real, tangible hope for our future. I won't stand in the way of that, and I won't execute people for choosing to evolve." One by one, other Vryn in the room made their choice. Some left, loyal to the High Command's orders. But others stayed. Soldiers, scientists, workers. They chose to stand with HFY-1 and Velrex. The fleet outside began to break apart. Some ships moved to attack positions, but others didn't. Crews were dividing, debating, choosing sides. The Empire itself was fracturing. Chi-Ho stood beside HFY-1 and looked out at the chaos. "What happens now?" "Now we build something new." HFY-1 placed her hand on his shoulder, and he felt the connection between them pulse with warmth. The outpost becomes a sanctuary, a place where any being from any species can come to try the transformation if they choose. We'll help them, guide them, show them it's safe. The High Command will try to destroy us. Probably. But they'll have to fight their own people to do it. And every day, more beings will choose transformation. More bridges will form between species. Eventually, the old empires won't matter anymore. Dr. Yuna joined them, already making plans. We'll need protocols, safety measures, training programs for both humans and recipients. This has to be done right. Elder Quan smiled. The precursor race would be proud. They waited millions of years for this moment. For different species to choose unity over isolation. 6 months later, the outpost had transformed into something remarkable. It was no longer a mining colony, but a thriving center of biological research and transformation. Beings from dozens of species worked side by side, many of them transformed. All of them choosing to build something new. HFY-1 served as director. Her unique biology, making her the perfect bridge between human and alien. She'd helped hundreds of volunteers through the transformation, and each one became an ambassador for the new way of thinking. Ji-Ho had returned to Earth briefly, hailed as the human who changed the galaxy. But he'd felt uncomfortable with the attention. He was just a mechanic who'd bled at the wrong time. Or the right time, depending on perspective. Now he stood on an observation deck, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Some brought volunteers. Others brought supplies. A few brought soldiers, but now those soldiers came to learn instead of to fight. HFY-1 joined him, moving silently despite her size. "Thinking about the day I marked your back?" "Sometimes. Seems like a lifetime ago." In a way, it was. We were different people then. She touched the spot where her claws had torn his jacket, where his blood had started everything. "I attacked you in anger. I saw you as less than me, as weak and expendable. And now? Now I see you as the person who showed me what real strength means. Not the strength to dominate, but the strength to offer help knowing it might be refused. The strength to share instead of hoard." Ji-Ho smiled. "The organisms did that, not me. The organisms created the possibility. But you chose to act on it. You could have hated me for what I did. Instead, you helped me when I was dying. That choice mattered more than any biology." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the galaxy change around them. The transformation was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Not through force or coercion, but through hope. Species that had been enemies for generations were finding common ground through shared biology. There would be conflicts ahead. The old empires wouldn't give up power easily. But every being who chose transformation became proof that a better way was possible. Hei-Wan's hand rested on Ji-Ho's shoulder, and he could feel the bond between them. Human and Vryn, bridged by ancient organisms and modern choices. The mark she'd left on his back in anger had healed long ago, but the scar remained. Ji-Ho wore it proudly, a reminder that sometimes the greatest changes begin with our worst moments. Transformed by the courage to choose understanding over fear, the galaxy was learning that lesson now, one transformation at a time. And it all started with blood, anger, and the mystery hidden in human DNA. A mystery that became the key to the future.